Hello, hello, welcome back to the channel. If you have been here before and if you are brand new, then welcome into the fold. So this week is a very exciting week because I launched a new digital resource product on my website, which is the text breakdown sheet. So these are all of the questions that you should be asking yourself when you're actually doing text analysis, prepping for an audition, and this can go for whether you're doing a scene or whether you're doing a speech. So it's really, really helpful, and it's actually what I use for my own personal auditions, and it's what I ask my coaching clients to use when they are prepping for their auditions as well. And that is completely free for you. So the link is in the description below to take you to the website to get your free copy. So if you've got auditions coming up, then I recommend getting yourself a copy of that and going through it. But I thought, to celebrate the fact that I'm releasing a new thing on my website, that I would do an entire video dedicated on how to actually use the sheet. So we're going to go through each question one by one and flesh it out a little bit more so you have even more context. So first and foremost, before you even start doing any text analysis, before you even start breaking anything down or getting any lines off book or getting it up in the space, anything like that, the first thing that you need to be doing is reading the entire script. You need to be able to understand as much context around the speech or around the scene as you possibly can. So don't go any further unless you have actually read the entire script. And that goes for professional auditions or drama school auditions. Now, for some professional auditions, they may not provide you with the entire script for various reasons. So the only option that you have is to play what is exactly there on the page and to actually flesh it out more imaginatively. So anything that you don't fully understand, then you've got to give justification to. But for everybody else, you need to read the script. Okay, so the first question on the sheet is, and obviously we're going to skip past the playwright thing because that's self-explanatory, but obviously if it's a drama school audition, then you need to know what the play is, who the playwright is, and what the character's name is, because you're going to introduce it to the panel before you do it. So let's skip to the first question, which is, who am I? Now, the thing to think about for this entire sheet and for your text analysis for auditions is that it is usually time sensitive. So you don't have the time to properly do a full character breakdown and a character biography and all of that kind of stuff. Personally, I don't find that helpful anyway as a coach, as an actor, as a director, to do those long-winded character biographies. They may be really helpful for other people, but for me, they're really not, because you can only bring so much on stage with you or into an audition with you. Knowing what your character did when they were 5 years old, or if they like broccoli or not, is not really useful. You can only play what is on the page. What you want to know for who am I is who the character is, what their name is, their age, their role or position within the play itself, and their current struggle or current circumstance. So let's just make something up just for now. So let's say that my character is Jackie. She is 29 years old. She is the mother to Rachel and Ryan and has an ex-husband called Tom. And her current struggle is the fact that her ex-husband won't take the kids at the weekend and isn't supporting her financially. And as a person, Jackie is usually very shy and retiring, but in this current situation, she is very strident, very forthright, because she's fighting for her kids. So that kind of, in a nutshell, gives you who this character is. And that, when you're in an audition, can be enough. So keep it nice and focused and keep it uncomplicated. Now, just a little note on understanding what is in your sphere of reality. If you were playing a particular scene or a particular speech, then you do not have any understanding of what comes after it. Much like I'm filming this YouTube video in the morning, I do not know what is going to be happening in the afternoon. I can kind of predict and plan, but I don't actually know what is going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. So I can't play what's going to happen this afternoon because I have no knowledge of it. The same goes for your audition scene or your audition speech. If it happens in the future, you can't play it now. So let's move on to the next question, which is, where am I? Now this ties in to your current circumstances, and the where is referencing the actual location or the space that you are in. Now again, we want to keep it simple. We don't want to complicate it. So you don't have to flesh out this huge image of where everything is, where the sofa is, and what color the curtains are, and all of that kind of stuff. Because again, you can't necessarily play that. What I want you to focus on is whether this is a familiar or an unfamiliar place, whether it's public or private, and whether you are comfortable or uncomfortable in this space. So if we go back to Jackie and Tom, if this argument that they're having is taking place in a public place, like a coffee shop, then it is going to tie into how Jackie approaches this argument. The likelihood is there's going to be people around you, which you need to take into account. If, however, this argument is taking place on top of a hill, that's still a public place because it's out in the open, but there are no people around, then again, they're going to navigate the argument completely differently. So taking into account your situation, your actual location, might be really useful for you. The next question is, when am I? Now, I don't necessarily mean what day, date, month it all is, because that might not be important to you, but it also might be significant. For example, if this is the year anniversary of Jackie's mother passing away, then that might tie into how the argument operates. Or if it is Jackie's first day off from work in several weeks, then again, that might tie into it. But a lot of the time, the when am I can reference the actual time. And that can be significant if Jackie's children are due home from school in 5 minutes. It's then up to you to figure out whether you want to end this argument really, really quickly because you don't want your kids seeing you argue. It could also be that you're expecting a phone call from your divorce lawyer or your brand new boyfriend in 30 minutes. Knowing when you are may drive up the stakes, so it's worth taking note of. Now we're going to concentrate on the previous circumstances, so everything that's come before this that leads up to this point and ties into it. Now this can reference immediately before the actual speech or the scene, and this is what I would call the trigger, the thing that actually sparks you into speaking the words within the scene or within the speech. But it can also be a little bit before this as well, the actual previous circumstances. Now the where have I come from could refer to Jackie just coming in from the garden, having taken all of the washing down because it's raining. Your energy going into this scene or going into this speech is going to be different to if Jackie didn't actually do that in the garden. You might be physically tired and out of breath because you were doing it at pace, or you might be a bit annoyed because all of the clothes are now wet. And that might give you something else to play within the scene or within the speech because you're taking what the previous circumstance is and using it. Because we need to remember that the character doesn't just come to life the instant they start speaking the words of the scene or of the speech. They existed prior. They had life before that. So we actually need to be able to hit the ground running and understand that things come beforehand that feed and energetically give life to what you're about to do. Now, what happened just before this? Now, this could be your trigger into the scene or into the speech. I want you to focus on exactly what was said before the first line of the scene or the first line of the speech. Say if Tom, the ex-husband, said that you were an unfit mother. That is going to trigger you completely differently to speak the words of the scene or the speech, differently to if he said something else. Maybe there was a bombshell that was dropped just before the speech. You need to know all of this stuff, all of this context, so that you can breathe life into the actual situation before the scene begins. Who am I speaking to? So this is the relationship to the person that you're actually in front of. And in this context, Jackie is speaking to her ex-husband, Tom. So again, much like we did when we were asking the question, who am I? You want to keep it focused and you want to keep it really clear and uncomplicated. So this is Jackie's ex-husband, Tom. They live separately, but they're not divorced yet. He doesn't support them financially. He doesn't have a job. He makes loads of excuses as to why this isn't his fault. He's very hot-headed, very temperamental and unpredictable, but Jackie still has feelings for him. Now, this gives you loads of context about the relationship between these two people. And if you're playing Jackie, then you're going to play it completely differently to if the context was different. Now we move on to what do I want? Now, this is arguably the most important question that we ask in acting practice. What do I want? Because as humans, we always operate from this idea of there is a goal, there is something that I am pursuing, there's something that I'm trying to achieve out with myself from other people. So if we are playing a character in a scene or in a speech, then we need to suss out through our text analysis what that goal or want is. Now, with an objective, it is always something that you wish to achieve outside of yourself from someone else. And it is something that you want to achieve in the here and now. not something that you want to achieve much further down the road. That's something that we call a super objective. And this all fits into the sentence, I want blank. So in this context, I could say, I want Tom to apologize for his behavior. It's very clear, it's very focused, and it's something that I can't achieve inside myself. It's something that Tom needs to grant me. And knowing that, it gives you loads of different possibilities about how you're going to do that. And that comes when you actually get up in the space and start rehearsing it and start experimenting with all of these choices. Then you move on to the reason, the why do I want this? Now this is to focus on your best case scenario. If I was to achieve this, then I get this in accordance. And that fits into the sentence, I want blank in order to blank. So with this, it could be, I want Tom to apologize for his actions in order that he changes his ways, gets a job and supports us financially. Again, very clear, very focused, and something to achieve out with yourself. Then we're going to talk about what happens if we don't get it. So that's the stakes. This is to focus on the worst case scenario. So the thing that you actually want to get as far away from as you possibly can. So in this context, if Jackie doesn't achieve this apology and Tom doesn't change his ways, then that means financial ruin. That means potentially losing the house. That means her kids resenting her and not wanting to have a relationship with her. Think about the worst case scenario for this situation so that you know what you're actually fighting for and what you're actually fighting against. Becoming aware of what we're risking and potentially losing, we become aware of the importance of the situation. And this drives the stakes up, makes the stakes really, really high. And that, when it comes to acting, is very interesting to watch and to play. Now we're going to look at the obstacles. So you've got your inner obstacles and your outer obstacles. Now an obstacle is just something that is standing in your way from you achieving what you want. But we've got two different kinds of obstacles. The inner obstacle is something that is operating within yourself. And it's usually something that is fear-based. The fear of rejection, the fear of ridicule, the fear of humiliation. So in reference to this scenario, it could be the fact that Jackie still has feelings for Tom, and that's the thing that is holding her back from getting that apology from him. Then you've got your outer obstacles. So that's everything out with yourself that is getting in your way. So that's people, that's physical location, that could be time. So in this scenario, Tom's hot-headedness or unpredictability could be a massive obstacle. The fact that he doesn't think that he's in the wrong could be a massive obstacle. The fact that the kids are due home in 5 minutes is a massive obstacle because you don't have very much time to convince Tom. So separate out both the inner and the outer obstacles so that you know what you have to overcome in order to get the goal. So there we are. That is how you should be using this text breakdown sheet. I hope you found this really useful, and if you did, then just make sure that you click like and that you subscribe to the channel for more of this kinds of information. And tell loads of people about it as well, because if they've got auditions coming up as well, they might find this stuff really useful. And again, if you haven't got your text breakdown sheet yet, then go to the link in the description to get your free copy. It is on the website. And if you've got any questions, any queries, anything that isn't clear, then pop them in the comments below and I'd love to get back to you. But in the meantime, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.